Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast bud.
What's up, gang? Welcome back to another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day, and we're going to talk about the price goes up. Price goes up. The cost increases as time passes. What it takes. Start right now. You got to start right now. The best time, right? They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time was today. The best time for you to get started on your goals, on your journey, on where you want to go was 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is. But the next best time is to get started today, because the cost increases as time passes. The more time that goes by, the more cost that we have, the bigger the price is going to be. Now, what I see in coaching young people, at times I have the ability to impact young people. Most young people think that they have all this time. But time is the most expensive currency. You've heard people say time is money. And I've watched people say, oh, I'm young, to avoid working. And when you say I'm young just to avoid working and planning now, it's really just an excuse, and it's going to be an expensive one down the road. This is I had an opportunity to spend some time with my little cousin recently. Okay, one of my cousins getting married. We all got together. And so my little cousin, he was just started a new business, new career right out of college, and he's getting into his career. And I said, look, man, you better be the hardest working person in your office, in your business, what you're doing. You got to be the hardest working person, and you got to be the most coachable person. Right now, in your 20s, is the most important time. This sets the foundation for where you're going to be in your mid-30s. Like, you got to take it seriously right now. This is what I'm talking to my cousin about. Because the earlier that you invest the effort, the quicker and higher the return is going to be. You know, for example, we looked at economic inflation, right? Everybody knows, you've seen what's happened in the last 10 years with inflation, that in 2015, eggs were $2. 2025, eggs are $4. Okay, well, I know that's just by the rule of 72. In 10 years, to double, that means that eggs went up 7% per year. That means the cost of eggs went up 7% per year. Think about that. It's crazy. On a large scale, 2015 median house price was $289,000. 2025, $430,000. Not quite double, almost double. So the same goes with time inflation. Effort at 23 costs sacrifices like missing parties, missing happy hour, missing the club, missing traveling and overdoing travel. But the cost of missing those things and those sacrifices are really inexpensive. It's cheap when you look at the comparison down the road. Sacrifices and effort at 35 cost missing important family moments. The price at 35 is going to be way higher. The sacrifices that you got to make at 35 is going to be way higher than what we got to make at 23, at 25. Many people work 80 hours a week down the road, trying to catch up from what they didn't start early. Now understand, some people you watch, you're seeing people that put in crazy hours in their 20s in 30s and you're watching people in their 40s and 50s and you're like, man, I love that schedule. I wish I had that. They got money. They take vacations. They don't miss things. They got time. They have all that. What that's called is, most of the time, if you look at those people's journey, they invested ridiculously in their 20s. They invested ridiculously in their 30s, early 30s, to be sitting in a situation that they're currently in right now. And so what you'll see is that you'll be put to forced labor down the road to catch up from the money that you didn't invest, more so the time that you didn't invest in the beginning, if we're waiting and waiting and waiting to put in the work. Now, the reason why I think a lot of young people don't put in the necessary work and sacrifices that it requires is that we're in a society that likes to microwave things. This instant gratification Instagram model of, I want to have, a 6-pack abs in 6 weeks, 6 days. And so what it's really like when you're building from the ground up, when you're building something in your early years, 20s, 30s, first 10 years, doing whatever it is this like the story of the Chinese bamboo tree? I can't remember exactly. I think it was 4 or 5 years. They say it takes a Chinese bamboo tree 4 or 5 years for the roots to grow deeply and strong underground, but then it sprouts up 90 feet in just a few weeks. I mean, it's crazy the growth, the explosion that happens in just a few weeks. Well, the same thing happens when you're making necessary sacrifices. You might be making necessary sacrifices for 3 years, for 5 years, and not see the fruits of your labor. And then all of a sudden, the very next year, everything explodes from the sacrifices that you've been putting in, from the work that you've been putting in, from the roots that have been growing underneath the ground. And so the question is this: what are you willing to sacrifice today for tomorrow's freedom and wealth? What are you willing to sacrifice today for tomorrow's freedom and wealth? And what I've also learned now, it may be different, but depends on how big, how fast, how much you want to grow, how fast you want to grow. I got a friend of mine right now that is building a business, was already exploding, crushing it, doing well in Pittsburgh, up and moves to Florida, flies back and forth part-time Pittsburgh, part-time Florida, and goes to Florida and starts opening up his business in Florida, and we're back to the grind. But that's somebody that got huge dreams. This is happening in the late 40s for my friend. But guess what? My prediction is everything that he had going on in Pittsburgh, which was crushing it, I bet you everything doubles. What he had going on, I bet you it doubles in the next 24 months. Now, it's already been almost 24 months of putting some work in. So it may be a 4-year period of sacrificing a lot, but what you get on the other side is boom, is double. Now, what it took him 15 years to build, now it's only going to take 4 years to build. But what I learned is this: the minute that you're not willing to sacrifice any longer, you're probably not going to grow much. And to the accordance of how much you're willing to sacrifice is going to show how fast you're willing to grow. If you're not willing to sacrifice that much, it might be a little bit slower of a pace, if at all. But for sure, no matter where you're at, even at my age, even at my stage in the game, I'm going to celebrate 20 years in business this December in a couple months. And I'm 42 years old. And there's still sacrifices that I'm willing to make. There's some sacrifices I'm not willing to make. And I know those sacrifices that I'm not willing to make are probably holding me back from maybe, instead of growing 30% this year, like we're growing, I could have grew 50%. But I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is going backwards, staying flat, not growing. But in order for us to grow, I got to make some sacrifices. Even me, after 20 years, I got to make sacrifices. And I can make a whole list for you all. Oftentimes, what's frustrating is I watch myself out-sacrifice people that are in their 20s in my 40s. And it's frustrating because I care, because I don't want to. I see talented people and I know what they could do, where they're going to be. But I've also learned that you can't want it for somebody more than they want it for themselves. Your early habits compound over the years. And basically what happens is they either build you up, it's compounding positively, or it breaks your future down and it starts to affect you negatively because of the way that you handle the early years. This mindset of paying the price early, I feel like is what built the success, if you will, whether it's financially or personally, whatever. But just, I feel like if we've had any success at all, if people want to call that a success, or you see the money that we've made, or you see what the business has done, or whatever it is, I would say that the reason is the mindset that I had in my 20s was to go all in. Anybody that was around me in my 20s building, or even in my early 30s building, would attest to the sacrifices that I was willing to make. From driving back and forth, I remember spending weeks where I would drive back and forth, 3 hours back and forth in one day to build an office 3 hours away every day. Back and forth, every day, back and forth, or every week, back and forth, at least once a week there, and then back for a couple of days. Doing the same thing in Pittsburgh, 3 hours to Penn State, 3 hours back to Pittsburgh, working long nights, weekends, working every weekend, whether it was building relationships or teaching people how to sell or recruiting or just spending time with the team or having roommates when I was making a bunch of money. Roommates so I could take more money and invest more money into the business. So I don't want to have two people that I'm living with, but I got two people that I'm living with, sacrificing right now so we could have a big house down the road. And so I think the things that we're walking on right now are just reaping some of the benefits from things that happened 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so the question is this: what price are you willing to pay today? Because if you wait 5 more years, 10 more years, just like the eggs, it's going to probably be double the cost. It's going to be more expensive for you to pay the price 10 years down the road. And so we got to ask ourselves right now, what price am I willing to pay today? What sacrifices am I willing to make today? What sacrifices are necessary? What am I running from? What are the sacrifices that I know I'm running from making right now that are going to hold me back, that I'm going to kick myself for 5 years from today? Or pat yourself on the back right now and encourage yourself if you're listening to this out there and you're like, man, I'm making sacrifices. Pat yourself on the back. Encourage yourself a little bit that you're doing it, because 5 years from today, you're going to see and reap the rewards like the bamboo tree. Keep making those necessary sacrifices that are going to take you to the next level. But one thing I know for sure, any way you slice it, whether you choose to do it, listen, don't listen, sacrifice, don't sacrifice, what I know is if you change your mind down the road, typically the price goes up. That house is more expensive 10 years from today. The eggs are more expensive 10 years from today. The cost of doing what you want to do 10 years from today is going to be more expensive. And so let's go out there and pay the price this week. And I know, shout out to you, because you're already in the right mindset if you took time out to listen to this right now. And if you found any value in it, do us a favor. Take the 30 seconds out, share it with somebody else that you think we can make a difference in their life and an impact in their life. And as always, you guys know we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us on another week, another episode of the GRINDcast. Get ready. It's a new day.